You are listening to Maximum Pew Pew, an actual play RPG podcast. Maximum Pew Pew follows continuous storylines and are meant to be enjoyed from the beginning. This episode is part of the Warriors of Eternity playtest, written and directed by Geoff Cullop. The following content may contain mature themes and adult language. In this episode, the players build their first Warriors of Eternity.
Warriors of Eternity is a game where we very much are going to try to let the game come to us today, right? Like, I don't have any grand agenda other than to try to play this game, and I kind of want to see where the game leads us. So the less expectations you have about what this is about, the better off we're going to be at the end of the day. Now, that said, I have brought some things with me that are some ideas, and but basically the overarching idea is that we're going to let the game come to us. So the table is going to try to procedurally establish some truth, some world and a story, and where there's heroes and there's villains and there's some struggle, but there's also not really much decided about what that looks like or what that sounds like. And we're going to do that via some prompt resolution. And if you look at one of the sheets that you have in front of you, this is kind of the work in progress table kit that we're going to put together. It's eventually going to have all the tables in the game on it, but right now it's just got a couple of important things for us today, and that is the standard ability score array. And we're going to build a character. That's how we're going to start. Everybody's going to build a character with the standard ability score array, and then the chart there is the general prompts. So there's 20 prompts that at any time you can trigger by interacting with each other or with the world and kind of building the narrative and the story as we move forward. And what that's going to look like is that somebody is going to say, hey, I want to look around and see if I can find a secret door or passage or something like that. And so then you might say, well, that sounds like you're trying to reveal a truth about the world, right? And so we'll talk that through, and we will kind of talk about what it looks like and where's the wall and what is it made out of, and sort of what, maybe there's some bits of masonry that are missing. And whenever you look at it closer, there's like a little nook and a switch to flip or something like that. And we can talk that out, but whenever that truth is discovered, whoever kind of triggered that gets to write down a bond point on their character sheet. And that's how the game is played. Better to say that's how the narrative is procedurally generated. There's also going to be times whenever you come in conflict with the forces of evil. And then it's very much going to look like your standard combat and your standard roll a d20 to hit, try to hit AC, cast a spell, try to, the other person's going to roll a save against the DC. There's 2 saves in this game, and it very much just like old school fantasy role-playing on that combat end. And so we're going to do a little bit of all that today. But I know that we are recording right now, and I don't know if we want to kind of stop and talk about for a second who we are, or if we want to introduce an idea of what our character, maybe that's the best way we can start, is that we introduce what kind of an idea you have for a character for this new game, knowing what you know about it, and sort of if you want to be fighty or shooty with technology or with magic, or kind of be skilled at hunting and surviving. Maybe we'll start with Jared. What do you think?
Okay. Well, I've actually have like 2 character ideas in mind, so I was sort of waiting to see what the rest of the table is doing. But one of them was a warrior with the which one? The Sword of the Sea, and then the other was a wizard. That's kind of what I was looking at, and each of them have a bit of a background, but
what's the starter you're going to choose on your wizard?
So I believe it was the one that allowed me to teleport enemies across the battlefield. So planar shift.
Cool. Yeah, and so there's the guardian, the agent, the tinker, the wizard, the mystic, and that's what we have now. There's a 6th, but we don't have that one written yet completely. But each of those character classes will have a starter that will change the way that it works. So basically there's 3 almost like subclasses, but really what it is it's your starter, the way that you interact with the power of eternity. And so there's some variety in what you can pick. So I guess that's to say that if there's two people that want to play a wizard, maybe you pick two different starters and you have two different flavored wizards or two different flavored guardians or whatever. But cool. There's a guardian and a wizard on the table. What are you thinking about, Michael? What are you thinking?
I was looking at a tinker, and I was looking at the gravity field as a fun starting power.
Okay. What do you think, Anthony?
Honestly, sky's the limit. I've been staring at these things for not as long as you, but long enough that I really don't know which one I like most. So I figured I'd fill in a gap for playtest purposes and go from there.
Cool. What do you think, Ed?
I'm looking at the agent with the jump tech starter.
Cool. Matthew?
I could do anything. I do have an agent that I already built at one point, so I could go with it. I've got its stats and things ready to go, but
cool.
I could do something else.
All right.
Do we have everything covered?
Do we need a mystic still?
Well, we need a mystic. Yeah, because there's 5 classes, so I guess everybody should play a different.
I will put a mystic together real quick.
Okay.
All right, so we have a mystic, agent, tinker,
and then
which one
you
are you going to go
for guardian or wizard?
I mean,
whichever one you feel more passionate about, I'll fill the other role.
I'll go with warrior.
All right, so that means I'm building a wizard. Surprise, surprise.
Okay.
Sorry, surprising nobody.
Character creation. First thing you do, you're going to assign your ability scores. This is very much like the things that you expect. The swings aren't that big. There's only like 4. It's like 3 to 8, 9 to 12, 13 to 15, and 16 to 18 are sort of your point swings. But there's an array table that'll be on your table kit. 16, 14, 13, 11, 9, and 7. You can assign those to your abilities with strength affecting your 2-hit bonus, your damage bonus, and your athletics. Dexterity affecting your range to hit, your armor class, and your acrobatics. Constitution, your hit points, and your soak. Intelligence, your wizard's casting bonus, academics, and same thing for wisdom for mystics, and aptitude for tinkers. There's a correction that needs to be made on page 12 that I have in my working copy that's not everywhere else, and that manipulation needs to be deleted and replaced with the word gadgetry. Gadgetry is the skill set that is in Warriors of Eternity, and manipulation didn't make the final cut. If you have your copy of the book with you, you're going to be on page 9 to assign the ability scores, and then that goes all the way to page 12. And you've already picked your character class, at which point you can kind of find your character class. I don't tell you how to build a character, but if you look at your character class, what that's going to affect is your hit die, along with some of your abilities and powers. Oh, also your armor bonus is going to be dictated by that. If anybody has any questions as they're building their character.
Do we have any kind of like primary casting?
It's going to depend on your...
So if you're a tinker,
yeah,
it's going to be your aptitude is going to be your primary casting stat. Yeah. So if you put your 17 in aptitude, you're going to get a +2 to your cast bonus. Put a 13, you'll put a +1. I think this is a good time to talk about high concept of your character too, and what we want to see in the world. Because in Warriors of Eternity, there's no race. Like, race is not dictated by the rules themselves. And that is up to the table and what we feel is fair or, what would be fun for the world that we're going to build. So while you're creating your character, think about what your character might look like and sort of, it runs the gamut from if you want to do a very classic, elf dwarf situation, or if you want to do something more like alien or something, that is an animal folk of some sort, or just something that's crazy out of your imagination. I think that your character is only limited by the justifications that you can make in telling a good story. And I try to make sure that the game facilitates that, but we're, it's still young, so we're trying to figure out where those boundaries are. So step 4 to character creation is calculating your PC's soak, and that's determined by your constitution ability score. That is just a way to make sure that folks don't dump their constitution if they want to pick fights, really. That soak's just going to come off of the damage that you take. Next is the save numbers. It's step 5. It's on page 13 of the book. And basically, there are 2 saves in Warriors of Eternity. Your regular save and then one save you're better at. We call it the power save. You're going to have everything that has an effect is either going to be a magical effect or a technological effect. And your character class will determine whether you're better at resisting magic or you're resisting technology. You'll find that this is also sort of not balanced on purpose in the game, that there's like people who are really good, or there's characters that are really good at defending against magic. The Guardian is really good at defending against magic, but is never... And the Guardian will have rules that stack that allow that character to be better and better against magic, but there's never sort of a way, well, I won't say never, but it's harder to negate the weakness, which is against technology. And so there's sort of always this kryptonite to every Superman idea that I'm trying to find in the development of this game. Step 6 is to calculate the armor class, and that's basically your dexterity modifier plus the modifier that you see as an armor bonus at your character class. And then you calculate the hit bonuses based upon your abilities, skill set bonuses based upon your abilities and your class.
I have a question about AC.
Sure.
So, are those added to 10, or is my AC going to be like a relatively small single digit?
No, it should be 10 plus.
Okay.
That I need to check and see.
I don't know if that's explained in the character.
Yeah, it might not be.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not. It's actually incorrect in here. So it should be 10 plus. The PC's AC is the sum of 10 plus their dexterity AC modifier and any applicable armor bonus. Okay, so step 9 is PowerPoint calculation. If you're a caster, you're going to get 2 PowerPoints per level. And if you're a non-caster, you're going to get 1 PowerPoint per level. PowerPoints is one of the things that I'm really excited to see how they work in this game. We need to figure out an economy for these and the bond points. That's the stuff that we're trying to find. This is the math we're trying to do, I guess. But at any rate, at first I'd thought about making first level spells free, but by the time that I'd written my own first level spells, I didn't see any that were kind of so utilitarian that they could be a cantrip, I guess, without spending any points. And so even the first level spells do at least a little bit of something, and it's going to cost a PowerPoint. And I think that in response to that, I gave casters double the PowerPoints at every level, which will obviously, by the time you're level 3, that's a big difference. Steps 10 and 11 have to do with bond points. So everybody's going to start with 2 bond points. And at session 0, which we're getting ready to have a session 0 here, that's going to lead right into a first session is how we're going to play today. But you're going to start with 2 bond points. That's sort of your meta currency in this game. You can spend 5 of them to gain a full level. You can spend 3 or 2 on various items in the back of the book. You can upgrade your starter, although I don't have those rules written yet. That just sort of says you can do it, and then I'm waiting to see, what folks think are fair upgrades. I've written a couple, and those will obviously be in the next version of the book. Or you can spend a bond point to increase your maximum power point total by 1. And so what's important about the game, I guess the way the game works, is that power points refresh on a long rest. Like if you take a rest of an extended period of time, I think it's 6 or 7 hours, then you get all your power points back. But bonds are a currency, so once it's spent, it's gone. And you can earn more by completing prompts. Part of me is just like, let this silence continue so Jared knows exactly what to cut out. And part of me is like, sing something from Mary Poppins into the microphone.
Careful, that stuff ends up bonus content.
You want to get yourself nice and isolated on that microphone?
I already put out my terrible voice for public consumption. It's not like, there's no skeletons in the closet when you just keep the door open all the time.
No, I've got a bit where William and I were singing Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You." Like that's
a difficult choice. It's a challenging number.
It was challenging to listen to.
But your boy over here's a tenor, so I can kind of get there.
Yeah, you got a pretty good voice, Jared. definitely.
Out of practice, but
When was it in practice? How long ago? We talking high school, middle school,
College.
after? Nice.
college. Took a choir class for fine arts credit.
Well done. Mine was last in middle school,
You heard it here first.
all county choir.
The best karaoke party would be Michael Jared. Do you do karaoke, Anthony?
Here and there.
What's your song?
What's your song?
All depends. Which
Michael's
country
serious
am I
about
in?
karaoke.
Legitimate question. Which country?
The country of West Virginia, where karaoke is done by us.
So it's Charlie Daniels Band and then others.
Country roads, country.
Cheap Heat, Sweet Caroline, Country Roads.
Do the ones that'll play.
And the guy in the back that always screams Freebird until somebody does it.
And then, 9 minutes of regret.
He's just standing there, looking drunker than he was before.
I don't know what to do with my hands during that guitar solo.
It's when you go to the bar and get a drink and come back.
Excuse me, DJ, can you, is it just A440, or can you drop it down to, something where mortals can hit some of the notes? Or don't need these D4s, and I don't need these D10s.
That's for Magi of the Finite Realms.
Yep. Which I think I'm going to rename that rollable dungeon. It's just called Rollable Dungeon number 1 for the Fish in the Pot 1 pages.
Yeah.
But it's procedurally rolling D10s and D4s to make a random dungeon. So it's the dice that aren't used in Warriors of Eternity. So I think I'm just going to name it Magi of the Finite Realms.
Okay. How was power save calculated?
It's actually based on a number, so if you go a few pages further.
That was
It's just 15 or 12 at first level for your
Oh,
saves.
thank you.
And which one's good depends on your class.
Yeah, and there's a chart, which I have labeled as Table 3 in my working copy, that's on page 13, that gives you target save numbers by level, and then your class will determine which one saves against which effect.
So you were playing as a tinker?
Mm-hmm.
So your power save will be tech.
Cool.
So if for some reason you have a tech save, you'll know that you'll need to roll a d20 and get a 12 or better to save. And if it's a magic save, then you'll need a 15 or better to save.
Cool.
I am part of the development of the game is trying to figure out what kind of saves are magic and what kind of saves are tech. Some of them are going to be obvious. Some of them are going to be, rocks fall. Is that magic or tech? And then we don't want to get into the weeds about, well, it was a magic spell that caused the rocks to fall. But I mean, that's whatever's the quickest to make rulings, because we do need to make rulings in these sort of rules light games.
What was the max category again up top?
You're talking about your hit point box.
Yeah. Well, max, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's just the character sheet is made so that you can put your maximum hit points number down. So whatever that is, just write that down in max, and then you can sort of keep tally when you lose hit points or whatever in the other box.
So I got to calculate. That's based off your hit points.
Right. So, what is your hit die?
I think it's 10.
Okay.
1 times 8 times.
And what's your
plus
Constitution modifier?
2.
Nada.
No, my Constitution modifier was +2. My hit die was 8. So I did.
Okay.
1 times 8
Yep.
plus 2 is 10.
10. So your maximum hit points is 10 because you're at first level.
So those would be the
And then the top, right. And so just leave that alone so that whenever you keep track of your hit points in the other box, right? And that 10 will always be there to remind you what your max is.
Okay.
Some of the feedback I got about the character sheet was that people wanted like more room to adjust things like hit points and stuff like that.
Also, if there were a dedicated place to put damage bonuses.
Yeah. Yeah, because, and that's, I don't know if Anthony brought that up. That's been brought up too, but there's a place to put this. We need a place to put the melee damage bonus for sure. But is there a ranged damage bonus on Dex? Did we leave that in? No.
Where did you calculate your to hit?
So to hit is going to be
at first level. It's 0 plus whatever
your score
is. So you're going to look at strength for melee, dexterity for ranged, and you're going to look at your casting stat for cast.
Cool. Thank you.
You said that we can spend our bond points to do some progression now, or is that?
Yeah. Well, let's wait until we really earn them, because I want to do it to where we know where the bond comes from in order for you to spend it. But as soon as we sort of like introduce each other and I think that'd be fun. Once we make some sort of like world building or friendship building, team building sort of decisions, then we all can choose whether to spend the bond points to level up before we venture out.
You got it. I know it was something that I threw at you in the notes. So.
Yeah. I think that gives it a fun thing to look forward to for session 0 as well. Because at session 0, it's like, okay, we're just planning the thing. But then if you get to go home and do sort of like a mini level up if you want to, or decide to save your bond points for a rainy day or whatever.
Now I'm blowing mine like right now.
And then we come back and play these characters again, and it's like, oh, wait.
Yeah. Well, that's a good, spending all your bond points is a good way to make your character stronger, but delay the actual progression in the skill chart type of thing too. Which is something I'm wondering about like between different classes, whether there's going to be, don't ever level up. You get to level 3 with this guy, and then like never level up again, and then just keep buying familiars or whatever. Right? Like
I have 52 power points,
right,
and a personal helicopter.
Okay, those are,
No, that was
that's funny.
That is like always one of my concerns with a game where you have levels and XP expenditure.
Right.
I figure that sort of thing will figure itself out at the table, because if you're playing over a campaign, at some point you'll go, okay, I just can't hit anybody anymore. I need to actually level up.
Right. And where you're world building to get the points you're spending to begin with, it's sort of like we can figure out ways to get what you need, and I don't know. And like having 52 power points sort of serves no purpose whenever you just fall asleep and then
you ask the storyteller for an Orco episode for your character. All right. I just need gear.
Are you playing a mystic? Is that what happened? Mm-hmm. You always end up with the holy healer of the group.
Well, I don't mind playing clerics. It's always been a thing. I did make a healer, but I don't have to.
I enjoy playing clerics. I'm generally bad at it, though.
I tend to end up with characters that's like my main character in original Pathfinder was like this ridiculous cleric. There's nothing that he can't turn off or make go away. No condition that can stick to his party. But by God, if he's the only one that has to fight, it's like, okay, D4. All right, D4.
The joys of being a whaler of wood.
Anybody else have questions? Or looks like the sheets are getting filled out.
I
see Ed diligently scrawling over there.
Well,
good Lord.
Here's one. It's
actually, I'm going to not take the cure spell, because while it's more reliable, actually it may not be reliable. My starter power, I think, is better, or at least more fun.
Yeah, I ended up going with the time looper starter power instead of gravity field.
Yay!
That seems super useful.
I like both, though. I'm glad that we're getting that to the table in any event.
I'm taking Healing Radiance as my starter power, as it heals 2d8, whereas the regular cure spell is 1 hit die.
Nice.
Correct.
Wow.
So that's significantly better.
It is really better. Yeah. But so it's better because you are committing to a healer build from the outset, right? Once you pick your starter, you've chosen your Pokemon, right? Like once you got Squirtle, like there's no going back for Bulbasaur.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, it's either that or, I can summon woodland creatures to my help to aid me, or, other things.
I believe that's a Pikachu I choose you sort of scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. So where it's a 2d8, that's on purpose, and that means that the curve is always you're going to heal whenever you cast it,
right?
Generally speaking. So,
and when it says cure heals 1 HT, I'm assuming that whatever the hit die of the player Is it a full hit die, or is it they roll?
Yeah, they roll.
Okay.
Whenever any of the healing magic says that it heals one hit die, the player being healed takes their hit die and rolls it, and that's how much HP they gain.
Gotcha.
So if you're casting it on a Guardian, it could heal 12, right? If you're casting it on an agent,
it just confirms my math that 1 is less than 2.
right. And on average, 2d8 is really good. So
that 2d8 is much better than my DC.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to complain.
Right. Oh, okay. So that just means I need to swap out that cure spell and at this level, gear is mostly flavor, isn't it?
Yeah.
And determining what your die type is for your damage.
Correct, and I need to figure out a way to differentiate that in play. Basically, heavy damage is going to be off the table. I don't think this ever made it into the book, but like heavy damage for a first level character, unless you're the wizard that picked like I'm going to do the heavy damage spell, like you don't get heavy damage. So a power sword's going to do a D8 damage, and then like a lighter weapon, like a ninja throwing star or a dagger or something, is going to do your light damage. And we're going to figure out, we need to develop what that means, I guess, as we play the game. But if a tinker saves up their bond points and buys a tank, and then like now we have 3 guns that do heavy damage, I want that to mean something, right? It's still just 1d12, so you can roll a 1, but it's fun to roll the big chunky die, and try to get damage.
Have three tanks.
It makes the wizard special too if they choose the d12 power.
Well, I rolled the die, and that was the one that came up, so I took Cosmic Blast. So that toss-up, it's like, they're all really cool. I know they're all really cool. I can't do my infinite loop drop from terminal velocity anymore, so...
Yeah, we changed that one. There was a loophole found early by a certain wizard.
Yep, sorry, not sorry. Totally sorry, not sorry.
The Infinity RKO.
I just figured out how to do the Stone Cold Stunner on this guy 72 times in a row.
More like I learned how to do the Stone Cold Stunner from 72 stories.
Yeah, that's more accurate.
Don't break your tailbone.
Yeah, without you having to land on your tailbone. Yeah.
I forced him to do a moonflip somersault from the 80th floor.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we need to change the wording of that spell. That was funny.
Oh, but if I remember correctly, you did say earlier that you changed it so now all class or spellcasters are still spending power points for level 1 spells.
Yes.
Okay.
And the trade-off of that was that the spellcasters are going to get double power points.
I just wanted to make sure that I heard that edit correctly, since that was different from the version I hacked.
At first, I hope first level passes quickly, because 2 is not a lot.
No. Well, at least it's better than, a D&D first ed where it's like, I'm a wizard, I cast magic missile, and I'm going to go take a nap.
I had to roll a D4 and got a 1 for my starting hit points. I'm that old, yes.
Wow.
Well, but also,
don't leave me hanging.
If like 2 power points is garbage, then you can just spend 1 or both of your immediate bond points and have twice the ability to start out with.
That's true.
Unlimited.
These are the decisions we make when we play the game.
Or do like we did back in the old school days, is you hide in the back a lot and hope to level up quickly.
There's no such thing as leveling up a wizard quickly. We know this. 2,500 XP later.
There's a reason that most people don't play that edition anymore.
I know. Well aware.
So the spells and gadgets known by level are just standard. There's no modifiers there.
Correct.
Cool.
Correct.
By the way, Jared, I am glad you took Warrior or Guardian, because one of the things that I was this close to doing was doing a Guardian with the Sword of the Mountain, Earth, basically. Yeah. And thanks to my old college group, I started watching Avatar lately.
Okay.
So now it's like the boulder. I don't know if you've seen.
I've not.
Okay.
I'm contact high, basically. Everyone else seems to be.
Imagine The Rock.
Okay.
As voiced by Mick Foley.
Okay.
I kid you not.
I'm in. I'm a mark for that guy.
There's seriously
some connection again.
Okay, so no, I shit you not. There's seriously
that tag team before.
The starting bond points. There are class prompts whatever your class is, sort of be ready with what some of your prompts are. It should be on the right side where your skills are, or your spells known table is. So, how do we want to do this? Let's introduce everybody, and then we'll go around again and we'll talk about bonds. So don't spend your bond, or don't assign your bond points the first go around. Let's hear what everybody's deal is first, and then so the way I imagine that we'll start in this corner with Jared, and then go around in a clockwise manner, and so everybody will get 2 turns. First time, introduce yourself. Second time, we'll talk about what our bonds mean.
Okay. My character is Rabia Salak. Here's some art I was able to locate that works.
Them presenting individual with a very long braided sort of hair in the back.
Long braided hair with a sort of utilitarian pants and shirt suit with the like armor almost looking like fish scale, wearing a hooded cloak over the whole ordeal. While she is a guardian and wields a sword of the sea, also
very rhyme of the ancient mariner, sort of.
Also, the weapon that she had primarily trained with was the trident. Rabia is one of the Rabia is a viscountess of the Free People's Hold, and because she is a holder of the sword of the sea, she is also designated a daughter of the wave, and to her enemies she has been sometimes called the Walking Typhoon. Part of her responsibilities is protecting the free peoples from piracy on all bodies of water, and she has done exemplary work and has distinguished herself accordingly, which is one of the reasons why she is also a daughter of the wave and wielder of a sword of the sea.
Daughter of the wave, Walking Typhoon.
Yeah, would you like?
I just want you to let me find an appropriate spot in the journal, and I want you to spell her name for me as well.
I'll just hand all that to you.
Okay, cool. So, what I've been handed says that Rabia Solak is Rabiasolak, 2 different names. She's a level 1 guardian with an emphasis on strength and constitution. Carries the Storm of the Sea, and is adept in athletics, perception, and plays a conch horn as an instrument.
That is her instrument.
That is Rabia Solak. What were her honoraries again?
Daughter of the Wave.
Daughter of the Wave, the Walking Typhoon.
Yes.
So the question is the wave a person, or an honorific, or a title?
Yes.
The wave is insulted by these allegations.
The wave happens in about the 5th inning, whenever nothing's really happened in the game so far.
I imagine it some type of part of some type of maybe secret society or something like that. Maybe not.
Oh, that's better than like, yeah.
Maybe.
You're resolving bonds over there. Save that for later.
Yeah, sorry. That's why I left these vague, so we could establish that canon.
This is Grognar Smirk.
Wait a minute. Hold on. It's what?
Grognar Smirk.
Grognar Smirk?
Yep.
Okay.
He's not sure if he's a runaway or if he was abandoned, but he was on a salvage trip with his parents and got separated. He doesn't know whether he got really far away and they stopped looking for him, or if they just left him there, but he's been on his own for a little while. Think shabby Indiana Jones. He's got a hole in the top of his hat, and he's decent with his little whip. It helps him get around the salvage yards, and he's had to develop some skills in the gadgetry department so that he could get around a little better.
So when you say he's a little Indiana Jones, is that what you said?
Yeah, he's like preteen. Like
okay, so
young.
yeah. So whippersnapper you've got as a tinker.
Exactly.
All right. Does he have any technology or anything that he keeps with him, or?
He keeps the long whip with him, and he's got a force missile and a door jammer for when he has to run away.
Okay.
The door jammer has come in handy multiple times.
That's Grognar. We have Rabia. Who is our wizard today?
All right, that would be Thratgul Shorthop.
Bless you.
I'm going to spell this one for you and tell me if I spelled it right. Thratgul I have as Thrackle.
Nope.
Okay. And then,
So close.
and then Shorklop I have as Chorclop.
Why don't you go ahead and just take a look at that one
A
instead.
shortclop. That's an
Thratgul
aquatic.
I have Short Hop.
Cyclops.
Shorthop.
Shorthop. Okay.
Shorthop is an insult to us toad people.
So you're
Shortstop.
It's a toad folk.
Yes. Yes. Thratgul is one of the toad folk. And unlike most wizards, he does not wear flowing robes because they just stick to him too much. So instead he sticks with whatever semi-closer fitting garment he has on hand. And instead of the oh-so-stereotypical staff, he has a spear that is marked with a bunch of arcane markings that are some weird combination of runes and script that you're not certain which one is which. He's definitely on the beefier side, is probably the polite way to put it. Not quite rotund, but not quite...
Big old toad.
Yeah, he's a big old toad.
Toad wizard.
Thick.
Yes, he is dummy thick, and the clap of his feet will end up alerting the guards. You have been warned.
Giant toad folk wizard. Got it.
Yeah, big toad folk wizard. Yeah,
That's a season 4 character.
Well, guess what? You've been introduced in season 1. Deal with it.
Okay, and we have an agent.
Yes, the agent's name is Bert Macklin.
Awesome.
He's in his mid-30s.
Did you spell Bert with a U or an E?
I don't know.
No, got it with a U.
He's an agent. He's a man of mystery.
I spelled it with an E, yes.
Bert Macklin. Okay.
He's in his mid-30s. He's a former double agent who just wanted to get out of the game. His weaknesses, he's very vain and tries to dress stylish but stay very functional at the same time.
Does his mustache have his own character sheet?
I will write one up for him.
That's what the sheet's for, right?
Yeah.
We have a stylish agent. What type of what started did Bert? What does Bert bring to the table as far as the power? What's the starter power there?
The starter power will be the jump tech. So I can instantly teleport to anywhere I can see within 55 feet.
That's pretty sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're going to bamf around. That's Bamfin' Macklin over there. And then we have a mystic.
Yes, the mystic is going to be Krystar, Krystar.
I love that so much.
And Krystar is a crystalline creature, humanoid, but entirely made of crystal. Krystar comes to the surface from the underground kingdoms. He, down below, stirred in the darkness, and a being of living crystal, he heard the call of eternity's light and quested to find the surface kingdoms, where upon seeing the sun and being bathed in it, his mystical powers, his light-based mystical powers unlocked.
You're the Dark Side of the Moon cover, man.
Sure, yeah. Now we have a soundtrack.
That's powerful.
Teenage
powerful
me is happy. Anyways, he carries. He doesn't. Being made of stone and being light powered, he doesn't really have much of a need for clothes. So he kind of has like a leather harness, like John Carter style, to carry his gear. Most of which is this spear with this crystalline head that is both serves for stabbing and allows me to project like a laser beam from it if I need it.
Yeah,
this is amazing. Y'all are this is amazing. I am contacting David North and Melonberry as soon as we get out of this, and I'm like, wait till you hear the characters that we're adding to Warriors of Eternity now. Wonderful. So we have Rabia, our guardian, daughter of the wave, the walking typhoon, Grognar Smirk, the pre-tin salvager, hole in the top hat, whip carrying Indiana Jones tinker. We have Thratgul Shorthop. Don't call him Short Hop. That is an insult for our toad wizard of unusual size. We have Bert Macklin, the stylish agent whose mustache has its own character sheet. And we have Krystar, the crystalline creature from down below who has powers under the lights of the surface, much like the cover of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Everyone has 2 bonds that they start the game with on their character sheet in session 0, which is what we're doing now. Let's talk about your class prompts and pick 2 class prompts or roll the die. It's a D6 table, and you get to decide who your first 2 bonds are with. Please pick 2 different people at the table. And as we go, let's try to make sure that everybody has 2 bonds. We can figure this out as we move. It'll become somewhat natural in the process. Let's start with Rabia.
So I think the easiest way to establish that everybody gets their 2 bonds might be person to left, person to right.
That's a good idea.
Nice.
So that being said, I will start with Grognar. So as far as class, so which prompts am I pulling from? I need
your class prompts.
So of these 6, I'm going to be picking 2 of these.
Correct. Or you can roll them. And the working idea I have in my head, which I haven't been able to synthesize into rules language yet, is that the goal of a good Warriors of Eternity campaign would be to try to fulfill as many different prompts with as many different people as possible, instead of the same prompts with the same people over and over again.
Right.
Sort of like shoot for variety. And maybe that's just sort of a guideline that I can write out, is try to shoot for variety.
Actually, I think I know what I want to do. Instead, I'm going to start with Krystar. And I would like to exchange a technique, since Krystar also uses a spear. This is something that 2 of us have in common, and perhaps the 2 of us could
that sounds like
exchange
a good scene.
fighting styles.
If we'd like to exchange the scene, exchanging actually common practices is one of mine. So we could share a scene there and exchange the common practices in using spear and thrust-based combat.
Yeah, and so sort of the common practices that you have is that you both love to practice the spear, and that you find yourself sort of drawn to each other because of that, but also sort of drawn to your mission because it's helping to advance your martial prowess.
Yeah,
together.
one morning we were out there on the beach because I assumed that there's going to be a beach near the castle.
There's always a beach.
Yes, there needs.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, just because artists get bored. And so one morning at sunrise, both I'm there to refresh my light powers and practice almost like a kata. And we just found each other there, practicing our different techniques.
Because me being drawn to the water as well, and probably whatever meditation I'm doing ankle deep in water.
Yeah.
As the tide kind of.
So almost
in a rising
covered.
sun.
Yeah, just this almost silent scene as the 2 of us go into sync.
Yeah.
Practicing your crane kick together.
Yeah, it's like sand up to the ankles because I've stood there so long and the water has just kind of brought it up there.
There we go.
Very lovely. So I think that establishes a bond for each of you there. What about your second bond? So to your left.
So second bond, do you want to go around?
Yeah, why don't
maybe,
let's go to the other corner of the table.
Okay.
And say, Anthony, you talk about a bond that you have, or let's talk about a bond that Thratgul has with Bert Macklin, and one that Thratgul has with Grognar.
Okay.
Or one that has with Grognar, I should say.
Well, since, let's see. So I actually already rolled mine.
Okay.
And, I have a feeling that, amusingly enough, academic tutoring to be tied with Grognar here.
That's fair.
With Grognar being not only the smallest member of our team here, but also being the youngest, I think that Thratgul, being the learned individual that he is, and the world traveler, and seeing everything from beneath the waves into the bright sun, there's clearly some wisdom that needs to be imparted upon this young one that decides that technology is toys. And considering the fact that I am not a tech-savvy individual, aptitude 7, I am not a tech-savvy individual.
Right.
I think that relying on this is rather wrong for a child, and they must clearly learn new ways of handling things. So I take it upon myself to teach the younger generation alternative methods besides firing a force missile at everything that gets in the way.
So in that respect, I'm probably going to have to exchange methods with him. So he learns a little something of my world too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I like this. And so Grognar finds that he has a new toad teacher, whether he likes it or not.
Perfect.
And eventually, the lessons that are tried to be taught, some of it sinks in, some of it doesn't, but eventually you get to a point where you're like, look, Toad, I can do what you're doing there with this little gadget that I have.
I'm really hoping some of those involve like the eating of something very far away with a tongue. You trying to do that with a tiny tongue.
You know, I actually have a feeling that you and I would be sitting in the laboratory workshop that we have with the castle. And I am there with my huge amount of formulae, and you're in the corner with your tech designs. And we are now arguing over the proper way to handle this transdimensional hop that you have in your head. And I'm saying it can be handled with magic, and you're saying it can be handled with technology. And now we are comparing ideas and trying to teach the other.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, yes, I will flick a fly off of your board just because I can. If I smudge a number, I mean, sorry.
You remember what it is.
You smudge a number, and then both of you look like...
And then I just like nonchalantly like wipe my oily hand over the side of my chalkboard and be like, oh, yeah, that works.
Bert Macklin, pick a bond from your list, your character prompts there. Somebody to your left or right.
Well, to the left is our healer, so I believe I'm going to go with always has your back on that.
Yeah, well, you know, if I haven't determined my second yet, but one of my prompts is to provide medicine and healing. So we'll say that.
And it feels, and if you'll allow my intervention as the game master here, it feels sort of like a Han and Chewie situation, where you have like Bert Macklin and his fabulous mustache, the agent, and sort of like the crystalline healer monster thing or whatever it is, right? Like it's a
no. This is the fantasy game. He is like cut and chiseled. It's not like a crazy monster.
I was picturing sort of like trapezoidal, like Hanna-Barbera or
no, this isn't like, you know, a Space Ghost monster. This is more like, you know, a He-Man action figure that just happens to be clear.
Oh yeah. So and it's literally the He-Man, only clear, like
right, you know, with sharp edges, or maybe like a perfectly clear Bizarro kind of character.
Sure. Yeah, it's a clear faker.
Yeah.
The artist took chiseled physique to like
exactly. I'm gonna write that down. Chiseled physique.
Okay, so now I'm getting sort of a Lance and Gary vibe out of that, but which is welcome. But we'll let that play out. But that sounds good. So, what ties you two together to where you feel like you always should heal Bert Macklin and his fabulous mustache, and where why does Krystar always have Bert's back?
Well, I'd say like probably early on in my adventures in the surface world, not, you know, being raised by rocks, I was probably rather kind of inept and making a lot of very, very bad stumbling into awkward social situations and mistakes. And I'd say it's very likely that maybe Bert extricated me from one of those through a lot of clever fast talking,
and has been doing it ever since.
Mustachionism.
Yeah. Cool.
So eat his mustache, gain his powers. Is that what I'm hearing?
But yeah, I dare say though I've spent plenty of time, you know, healing him from some of the inadvertent damage he took, extricating me from those situations.
Excellent. Grognar. Who do you? Okay, it's the right. So Grognar with Rabia. What's the other?
So I'm picturing me like out on a salvage trip and up to my head in trouble, and at some point, Rabia comes along and saves my bacon like crazy.
Okay, so I do have a protect as a a prompt, and generally, I'm being the sworn enemy of pirates and thieves and whatnot. Perhaps I may have been tracking you, though have mistakenly identified you as a pirate when I see, in fact, actual pirates. Getting.
I've jammed a door, and that's held out for a little while, but I got distracted by some extra stuff for salvage, and may have waited around too long, and that door finally unjammed.
Okay,
and
so
yeah, that might work there. So,
and what's the prompt that you're doing there?
It's salvage trip.
Salvage trip.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the bond you have together was that salvage trip that you almost had your bacon cooked, and Rabia came to your rescue. Who only has one bond?
I have one bond.
Yeah. So it's just you two. This is the last bond, I think.
Yeah.
So why don't you pick, Anthony?
Okay.
What you think?
The one I actually, because again, I did random roll. I have deep conversationalist.
I love the idea of Bert Macklin and the talking frog being best buds. They're like
not frog.
Okay, my bad. Like everybody else is asleep and the toad and the mustache are still awake. Like
just chilling.
That's great. What do you have something that would
that actually works with what I was going along with was introduce contact, because he needs some fashion help. So I was going to introduce him to some of my contacts, and we can have deep conversations about that.
Toad Clothes is Bert Macklin. Toad Clothes. Toad Clothes.
Bert Macklin, Toad Clothing Extraordinaire.
Bert Macklin's ToadClothes.com. This is what I'm talking about. A table established canon is that now Bert Macklin is a toad clothier with Bert Macklin.
Clothier extraordinaire. You gotta add that extraordinaire because it's going to take a lot to make me look that good.
If you got an ass, I clothe it.
No, Toad. Ass is over there. I am not playing a donkey this time.
All right. So I feel like we're all bonded up. Let's talk a little bit about Eternity.
Warriors of Eternity is written by Geoff Cullop of Fish in the Pot. Find out more at fishinthepot.itch.io. Title music by Adventrium of MNMaxed. Check out MNMaxed on your favorite podcast syndicator. Ambient music provided by Tabletop Audio. Original 10-minute ambiances and music for games and stories. Find out more at tabletopaudio.com.